I'm talking about this game because remember I mentioned in my last video um, that I had a dream when God had showed me that my husband was going to divorce me. And God had a way of like bracing me for what was about to come. So in the dream, me and my husband was at a Travin, like a Travin, and the crazy part about it is in real life we used to play this game. It was like a virtual game that he would play all the time, and I just wanted to join in with the game with him, and we would go on adventures as husband and wife. And so we were I remember one time in the game me and him was at a Travin, and we were like basically at a Travin bar that looked like it was like something from back in the day or whatever like that. And so anyway, going fast forward, in my dream in the Travin, because a note was handed to me, and the crazy part about it is in the game, I remember I ended up trying to get in the game, and I was on the other side somewhere, and I ended up on some daggone pirate ship, and he was with somebody in character, and he basically like made believe like a note came to him, and he was like, "We gotta go because my wife is somewhere," and the guy really was thinking like, okay, this guy's talking about his wife, but he had no idea like I was really in the game and I was lost. Like I better not get mauled by some tiger because one time, I mean, I don't like games like that. Like I don't like scary games. And I remember one time I asked my husband, I'm not gonna die or anything like that in the game, and this is in real life or whatever. And I remember we were playing, and a daggone tiger came out and mauled me. And I was so mad because in the game, like it was like as if you were in afterlife, and it looked like something like freaking hell or something. Like I don't even know, but I was so mad at that. But anyway, going fast forward, that defeats the purpose. So anyway, so I had a God gave me a dream, and the dream was to warn me that I was going to be served with a bill of divorce. And it was showing me and my husband. We were sitting at a Travin, like as if when we were in the game that we played before. And somebody served me a paper, and when I looked at the paper, it said divorce. And I was so mad. I was so mad that I took the paper and I ripped it out. And I woke up from the dream and I was like, oh my goodness, he's gonna serve me. And as you know, I did get served. So it reminded me when I shared that with you guys yesterday, I almost forgot to share this. That and if you've been following my videos, you would know years ago when I was trying to communicate to my husband because he totally didn't have any communication with me, emails, none of that, right? And so I remember that when he used to play that game, because it costs money to play that game. You have to have a serial code and all this other stuff and whoop whoop. I don't know, but he would play the game so much that he became so good. He became like one of those overseers, like a dungeon master, what they call it, like somebody who give people points for playing or whatever. Like he was just in the game so hard, right? I couldn't get with it. So I stopped playing the game. So he ended up asking me, is it okay if he gives his one of his friends or somebody he met the code to play the game, one of my codes. Well, basically my serial number or whatever, because I don't play the game. But because I paid for it, the game was still linked to me, or it was still linked to my account. But I hadn't played the game in years. So anyway, so when we were going through this whole divorce and everything, like in real life with separation and stuff, I was trying to figure out how I can literally communicate with my husband. And of course, at that time, I'm like, desperate times for calls for desperate measures. And the reason why I'm sharing this to you is because I'm at a point where it will be what would be, and something you have to just let go and live in peace. But I remember around that time, I wanted to communicate with him. I wanted to at least talk to him. So you know what I did? I was on some, I wouldn't say hacker type stuff, but I was like, I was so determined. I was like, I know he's in that game. And I remember speaking to a good friend of mine, and her husband played the same game. She knew all about the different portals, and not portals, but the different places that's in the game and all of this other type stuff, right? So I had to go back in my email, and I had to figure out that activation code and all of that. I had to download this thing on my computer just so I could speak to him. And the crazy thing about it is that after doing all of that, I ended up getting in the game. Now, just to remind you, I never liked playing that game because, first of all, my husband would tell me, you got to be where these people and that people and these people and this people. Some people would try to, they'll try to, it was just crazy stuff that was in the game. And I was just like, I'm not with that, you know. But he knew how to play the game so good that I remember one time I tried to play the game. I never forget this. One time I tried to play that game. I was in um I was in a graveyard full of bones. Like they look like uh, bones, like people like, I guess the Walking Dead bones or something like that. I'm trying to get out of there, and then some person comes along and start like literally like killing off these bones or whatever that was trying to attack. And I was like, thank you so much. The person was like, shut up, just pay me, you know, and said a bad word. And I'm like, excuse me. I mean, not a bad like curse word. So he was just like, pay me for helping you out. So I had to pay him some coins, and I was so mad. I was so mad. And come to find out later on, my husband was cracking up laughing because it was him. I was literally like getting tore by these bones. So anyway, when I went in the game, I'm already afraid, okay? Because I'm just like, I can't, you know, I know it's just a game, but I don't like losing. Like when I grew up. I grew up off of like Sonic, Super Mario Brothers, like this type of stuff is just like some crazy stuff, you know. So, anywho, and you just never know, because like one time, like I said, I was just walking, chilling, and a daggone tiger just came out of nowhere and just mauled me, you know, just mauled me. So, anywho, so I decided, let me go in this game, and this is real life, y'all. This is real life. I went in the game because I'm like, I know he's playing the game. I know he is. And so of course when you in the game you can't be like reality. So I'm posting all on the game. I'm looking for my husband and I want to speak to him. He was taken over by something evil and I need to talk to him. This is real stuff, y'all. I'm in the game posting it all over. And I'm getting levels up or whatever like that because they think, oh, she really got a good story going on, you know. But the reason why I share this is because, you know, eventually I wasn't able to. I honestly feel like in my hearts of hearts, I did come across him in the game. And I think that's when something had happened. But it didn't dawn on me until literally about a year and a half ago of this date. He knew I was in that game. And let me tell you how my husband knew I was in that game looking for him. Because on the message board, the guy who had my code was like, I just wanted to know, like, whoever has the code, could you let me know the days that you're gonna go and play the game so I would know? Because basically he made a character and everything, and he's been playing that game, but he was not allowed to go in the game because it the link was to me. So once I reactivated it again, I have full control over it. So whoever was using that code or that link, they never had full control. And it didn't dawn on me till later on. That guy reached out to my husband to say that somebody is using the code, and I know my husband knew I was in that game. Knew I was in that game. And so you know, it's like the truth will be revealed to you, whatever. But I mean, I literally was trying to communicate. with him in the game. It didn't succeed, and I just felt like, you know what, I, I got a child to take care of. Like, it is what it is. But when you try your best and it's like some people think you have to save your marriage. No, you're married. You're married. When other people walk away and they don't want to be bothered, you do your best. I mean, and there's nothing wrong if you're willing to go into a video game and be mauled by a group of bones, dead, rattle me skeleton bones. Just, I mean, I got messed up in that grade. This time I ended up going there, and it was just me in there, and I got messed up. But I realized I was just like, you know what? That's it. I mean, I tried. I did everything I was supposed to do, and he didn't want to communicate. But it wasn't until literally about a year and a half ago I really realized he knew I was in that game. He knew I was, because the guy who posted the form and was like, whoever's playing this game, can you please let me know so I won't play on the off days? Because I reached out to the guy. He reached out to him, and I know it dawned to my husband like, oh, my wife must have went up in there. And the whole time he was probably looking like, look at this. But anyway, I just wanted to share that, because when you wanted to make something and you realize, and I had, there's no shame in my game for wanting to communicate with my husband, and even if it meant in a daggone video game. Needless to say, like I said, I went up in there and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna sit here. And it was some crazy stuff. It was some crazy stuff I saw in that game. It was just one guy turned into like this huge, I don't even know what he turned into. Like, it was just some weird stuff. Another guy started using his powers and he fought the other guy. And I'm sitting up here looking at this like, this is some crazy stuff. And of course y'all be like, Ramona, but look, I knew that my husband was in that game and I wanted to talk to him, and I never did. And I went posting all over. And then I remember somebody came up to me in the game and was like, you can post it at the town hall. So I had to go all the way to, like, you have to. It's crazy. I don't even want to tell you what game it was, but I remember doing that. When I look back at it, it's just like I mean, I wouldn't be like, Mona, you was real stupid to go in the dag. Okay, I'm like, anything is possible, but I know for a fact that he knew I was in that game. I know he knew I was in that game. But anyway, so I just wanted to tell that story because a lot of people be like, "What?" I mean, literally, like I really, when somebody says you fought for your marriage, like you really try to, you know, communicate. But when somebody walks away and you do your best to try to reconcile and they still walk away, it's just okay to just let them go. That doesn't mean that because you let them go that you're free to remarry. It's just that you're not in bondage. You know what I mean? Let them go. And just live your life in peace. Because I just remember, like, when you try at every angles, and I was literally trying, but it didn't dawn on me until like about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. I was like, he knew I was in there. He knew that I was in there. And the crazy thing is like not everybody is gonna want to communicate. Because some people be like, well, what can I do? What can I do to bring my wife back? What can I do to bring my husband back? What can I do? I'm gonna tell you right now, I was praying so hard. Like, I was praying and fasting. And the crazy part about it is I was fasting when I was nursing. I had a baby, and I'm talking about straight fasting, no food. just water. And I'm not talking about just for a day or two, you know. I mean, I was praying and I calling out to God and asking him, what's going on. And I feel like I did everything. But when people just don't want to be bothered, they just don't want. It's nothing that you did wrong, because some people be like, just pray, and then watch what's going to happen. Sometimes see, the thing is that God is not a God that's going to force Himself on anybody when He created everybody. You know what I mean? And it's like, even with marriage, like, you want to walk away, then you walk away. And it's only natural as a wife or as a husband that you want to reach out, contact, communicate, because you just don't want that, you don't want it to go. But the truth of the matter is that some people, they may not want what you want, and they may not care like you care. They may not care like you care. They may not be compassionate like you are. They may just, feel like, you know, whatever. But that was a crazy adventure. I can honestly say that I went in a video game. I was playing a video game trying to look for my husband, and I got mauled by those. I'll never forget them daggone bones at that graveyard. I was like, it's so scary in here, walking through here. Them bones came out of nowhere. Like, what? You not even on a level 5, and they tore my hind tail up. I was like, you know what? I can't do this. Oh man, I cannot do this. I can't. So anywho, I had to share that because it reminded me when I shared with you guys yesterday about the dream that the Lord gave me, and me and him was both we was sitting there. But yeah, I went looking for him, and that guy, he posted on the forum, and he was like, I just want to know if whoever's playing such and such dash who's such it, could you please let me know, because I ended up getting the codes from a guy or a friend of mine, and now I can't log on because you're playing, and he was talking about me. So I know he reached out. It didn't dawn on me there, because I was like, boy, bye, I don't care. I'm trying to speak to husband real quick. Like, you can play the game. Like, I'm not gonna be in this playing this game. I just need to speak to him. So and I know some people be like, you did what, girl? You went in a game? You did what? I sure did. And I and my daggone avatar or whatever got tore up in that daggone graveyard. I said, look, I remember sharing that with my friend, and she understood the game because her husband would play it all the time. I got tore up trying to look for him. The things we do for love, the things that we do. But I had to share that, y'all, because I can look back at it and I can laugh. I can look back at it and I can laugh. I can laugh. I can laugh. I can laugh. You know what? You won't have any regrets. You say you have decided to stay single. I tell anyone, ex-wife was a good woman and great understanding. Well, she sounds like a really nice lady. Hopefully, you guys can reconcile. It ain't over if you both still living. I even thought about that because, like I said, I used to speak over my husband's life. I used to say, you're going to live to be 108 and I'm going to be 104. And I'm like, shoot, I'm basically 40. I'm like, we got a long way to go, don't we? Like I said, I may never ever see him again. Or I may just see him again. I don't know. I know I'm not. It doesn't seem when you're used to, how can I say, when you're used to not being with your husband or your wife, you just get used to life and other things. And God, it's not, God will make you busy in Him, you know, and other things. But but yeah, I remember I was trying to communicate, and it I got to the point where it's just like, you know what? People make choices in their lives. They make choices in their life. Their choice could be, they make choices, and unfortunately, I'll tell anyone married, you need to be like, you got to know it's permanent. Like if you knew it was permanent, would you really want to do this? Even when you're in love, you're just like, oh, I still want to get married, but you do know it's permanent. I think people need to break it down to folks that if this person do the most craziest things, like I would have, if I was coaching, not coaching, but if I was talking to a couple about marriage, and they're about to get married, I would tell them, I want you to write down the worst thing that this person could do, you would divorce them over. Just write it down on a piece of paper. You don't show it, nothing. Just write it down. Write it down. The worst thing that they would do is the reason why you would divorce them. And then I would say you still gonna be bound to that person. And then if you marry another, you commit adultery. So you still ready to do this? Because it's all well fine and good right now. But then later on, when you get down and you tired, you got people yapping into you, but you really want to hold this torch, because you do understand that if he or she becomes undesirable to you, you can't be with anyone else, because if you do, you go to hell. You got to let people know the facts. You got to let them know the facts. Hold on, you guys. You know, this person may walk away from you. This person may, not saying anything like that. Nobody wants to hear the bad parts. They only want to hear. When we went to counseling, a lot of people like, I wish I would have got counseling. It don't matter. You could have got 20 years of counseling. 20 years of counseling. It could be 100 years of counseling for all I care. But as long as they got breath in their bodies, you still bound to them. Because, I mean, what about the people that married? Her husband was a preacher. I mean, come on now. She basically was married to somebody who preached the word, and he still went out there and committed adultery, and she couldn't take it and got a divorce, and now she on the second marriage. They didn't learn anything. People don't understand the permanent of marriage. It is what it is. You could cry all you want to. You could hoop all. I've been through it. And I think that was a main reason why I went out my way. I pray that you and your wife gets back together. Oh, that dog is limping. Man, I have to do it all the time. It's an eye opener, but it's a beautiful thing too, because at the end of the day, at the end of the day, I want to see more marriages. I want to go to weddings and see real marriages. You know, and I see couples, and I'll be like, oh, they look really nice.
But no, my people don't think I'm weird. You know why they don't think I'm weird? Because majority of my friends, they single, and they're not married. They're dealing with it's issues out here because number one, when they go to date somebody or try to think they found somebody, come to find out he been married before. So nobody thinks I'm weird because I got I gotta raise my daughter. I got parents and stuff that I'm there for. Hold on, you guys. Hold on. I'm gonna have to finish this conversation. All right, y'all. I'm back. I'm back. Sorry, and sorry. So yeah, but a lot of people. Just to answer your question, a lot of people weird. Things have changed because of the times that we're living in. Is that you rarely see you rarely see thriving marriages, and like I said in my last video, is that it's a rare thing because a lot of people are dealing with a lot of stuff in terms of, you know, why they're separated. So, but what I have learned is that you gotta you gotta get to a point where it's just like, you know what, I'm just gonna follow God. I'm just going to follow God, and that's it. Because I remember, like, I was trying to reach for every rope and trying to fix things and trying to do it yourself. You just literally just have to let go. That's why the Bible says, if the unbelieving spouse leaves, let them go. How do you know whether or not you'll be able to save your unbelieving spouse? It never said that you can remarry, because some of y'all ran with that scripture. I understand that because I just I just let go. I just say, you know what? It is what it is. We had a good run. He's still alive. I'm still alive. We got a beautiful child. Just, just want to live in peace, instead of worrying and wondering. Because after a while, it's just like the years start coming and rolling, and the weather starts changing. When I mean weather, the seasons change. It's a time for everything. The Bible talks about that. It's a time to build and it's a time to tear down. And unfortunately, if your husband or your wife is not willing to reconcile, or if they're not willing to see it through, then you have to move on. And it's just like, Lot, his wife, she could have been cool, but she decided to turn around. you know she decided that she didn't want to move forward, and because of that, look what happened. But two wrongs don't make it right, because if he would have turned around, he would have had her same fate. And I'm not saying that he would have had her same fate. I will say that that's where I'm at. That's what happens when you get married. Well, I'm not gonna say that's not what happened when you get married, but when you get married, you're basically bound into death. That's the whole purpose of marriage. You merged into one flesh. And if one person decides on the adventure that they no longer want to do this, or they walk away, or no communication, I mean, you can try. That's what as a good wife or a husband, yes, you want to try and say, "Hey, that's this is not what we signed up. Come on, we can do this." And the crazy part about it is that's the reason why you have a lot of people who are in fear in their marriages now, or in fear before they even walk down the aisle and say I do, because they don't want to be a part of the statistic of the divorce crew. They don't want to be a part of that. So I've heard newlyweds say, well, I'm like, oh, congratulations, you're in your third year. And I remember the wife, she says, yeah, thank God we made it. I hope we have more years. Like, y'all married. What do you mean you hope you have more years? That's because everyone around them are divorced. Everyone around them has thrown in the towel, walked away, did whatever. I even remember when me and my husband, we went to celebrate our anniversary. His parents wanted to take us. I know this is a big deal. Y'all been married for this long. Oh, this is a big deal. I'm like, we plan to be. I thought, well, not even thought, because as you can see, I'm still holding up my end of the bargain. That this was until death. Like, this is until like old age, hunched over, you know, like what marriage was intended to be on earth. But people really think, like, there are a lot of folks out here that really do live in fear because they fear that they're not going to make it. And they look at the statistics, or they have fear that they're never going to get married. Or you have folks out here that's just, the dating scene has changed for them because so many people are washed up or went through so much before their time that they're not even putting in any effort. The Bible says a man who findeth a wife findeth a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. Findeth a wife. So it's like, from what I heard, that the scene has really changed. It's definitely changed. And the older that they get, whether you are a woman or a man, you both get old. Because now you got a lot of men that's, trying to downput older women. But I'm like, Slim, you're closer to the grave too. She's 40 and you 40, and you telling everybody, don't date a 40-year-old. You're 42. But it's just, I don't know. People think that they got so long to pick and choose who they want to be with to make them feel good. And then when you in old age and 20 more years pass by, you realize that wasn't the case. That was not the case. Hold on, you guys. Hold on. Okay. I'm not going to be on here that long. But yeah, so where was I at? I feel like I'm just all over the place, just talking, talking, and talking. But yeah, so um, yeah, so I'm looking at folks. I'm looking at a lot of things and just analyzing it in a different way. So what I have learned, and I think this month, I think I this would be I think this was January. It was one of the months, I guess, that we did go for our divorce decree. I don't know. I don't even remember. It's been so daggone long or whatever. But where I'm at right now is that life goes on with or without your husband or your wife. Yes, you are reminded that, you have to, pick up your cross. But a lot of people thought that it was going to be awful, just, agonizing, awful. You know, it is not. It's not like that. It could have been wonderful though. It could have been wonderful for me and my husband to be together, but that was a choice that he made. But I'm gonna tell you some real stuff. Like the choices that you make, it does put an effect on your family, on your children, whether you like it or not, because your children are not being raised in a household where mom and dad is there. And this was purposely designed. Um, and I've said this before, like you think right now you young and you got it going on, but when you start really getting old and you need help and you need your children and your family to be around. And I don't know whose in-laws were involved in their marriages or sister-in-laws. They like everybody got their own family because at one point in time, the way I look with my in-laws, the way at one point in time they had in-laws themselves. Like my mother-in-law was not married to her husband at one point in time. She had to meet her mother-in-law if she met. I'm not sure if she was still living, but you know they had their time. That's why the Bible says, "Let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband." Like have your own household. Everybody gets a chance to have that and to experience that. And God intended everyone to do that and to not infringe or covet somebody else's wife and somebody else's husband. He intended for you to have your own. But somewhere along the line, of course, the devil, the enemy started selling these wolf tickets that you can do what you want to do. And I'm living proof and I am seeing the repercussions behind folks that walk away from their marriage. Like I see it with my own father. Had he been good and not walked away from my mother, he would have had a loving wife by his side right now. And sometimes I feel like certain things that my dad go through, I can't, it's emotionally, not emotionally told for me. I feel like my mother is more, she can handle that more than me because it's my father that I'm looking at. And even though they don't communicate, she communicates to me like, you need to make sure this is done, that's done. Speak to the doctor, have them to do that. And I'm just listening to my mom. Like, okay, I'll make sure that that's done. But I'm like, I don't think y'all realize the repercussions behind you not being in that household and the decisions that you make now. Because even with me in my situation, there are times when my daughter does not see her dad or her mother because her dad is not there and her mother is working. And and of course, she's still being looked over by family until, I come around. But I feel like there are certain things that even single mothers, that if their husbands walked away, or single dads or their wife walked away, it's certain things that you realize, if you both were there, if you both put in, if you both worked and did what you were supposed to do the way we were designed to do, life would have been so, well, I'm not going to say life ain't sweet, but things would have been easier. Things would have been very easy. Like for number one, if you're both working, you both are contributing into a household, which means you both are generating more wealth, which means you both can take vacations, build an empire together. Like, you both can do things. You didn't know that, did you? And then you both can structure your children, You didn't know that, did you? I guess, some folks would look at a family as a threat. Not some folks, but evil folks would look at a family as a threat. Because when you think about it, the husband and the wife, all your children belong to y'all. Because remember back in the day, especially down south, they used to have a whole village. All of them all my kids building the house, and like, yeah. You when you really look at it, you don't want them to have a broken home or to think that is normal, because remember, your children are going to grow up, and just like the Bible said, because they're designed their way, they will leave their father and mother and cleave to their own wife. You don't want them to get used of being in a single family household, because even statistically wise, even in the 60s, white and black families had two parents in the household, but somewhere along the line, the powers that be, the enemy himself, he hates it. He comes to steal, kill, and destroy. That's why a lot of the things that happen in your marriage was never really between you and your wife. It was literally, you were wrestling something that was not flesh. It was designed, that thing didn't want y'all to get along. That thing didn't want you that thing didn't want you to survive. I mean, when you really look at all of the hits and the schemes that the devil had out, it's like I said, he wait till you walk down the aisle, and he go after you. He goes after your marriage, trying to entice you to look at another woman, trying to entice her to look at another man, then try to entice other people to interfere in your marriage. Then he tries to get you, or some of y'all took the bait to commit adultery and be with other people, because then he knows, like, see, the scripture says you're not going to go to heaven, you know? Then he goes after the those who are fornicating, get pregnant. Why don't you go ahead? That's what the devil does. Why don't you go ahead and abort your baby? Oh, you're not going to heaven because you're killing, you know? Like, when you look at the schemes of just how evil this devil is, how evil Satan is, and the only thing that Jesus required of a husband and a wife is to love your wife like Christ loved the church, and for the wife to submit to your husband like the church submits to Jesus Christ. That's the only thing, and that should have been the only thing that was really taught before you walk down the aisle. Like, this is what you need to master. Loving your wife. Christ died for the church. You do know that, right? He died and he rose. He protects us. He keeps us. He gives us power. That's the only thing. But somewhere along the way, somebody was like, I just can't do it no more. Nobody was willing to forgive, love. Nobody was willing to. And some of y'all were. And some of y'all was willing to say, you know what? It is what it is. And some of y'all was just like, you know what? We married. We in it for the long haul. And y'all learned. And y'all able to take off and do amazing things. Have amazing family dinners and family reunions. I'm not sure if anyone noticed, but the families these days look mighty broken, don't they? Family reunions don't look the same no more. Well, hopefully she realized her ways and repent, and maybe y'all gonna reconcile again. I met a lady who said she left her husband for a man in jail, and she regretted it because when he came home, he dogged her, the guy that she left her husband for, and she truly regretted that. She truly regrets that. But it's a lot of things too that a lot of people need to do self-aware and like your self-check too. What could you have done, or what have you learned lately through all of this? I, the person that came to my mind, lean not to your own understanding and always acknowledge God. What I got from it is that when people walk away, you just gotta let them go. And it's even more so when you just say, you know what, I wish you the best, and and what I'm gonna do as your wife is I'm gonna still pray for you. Pray that God keep you, protect you, and send some real God fearing people around you. That's it, and that's all. And I'm gonna get good rest in it. I just realized, in a nutshell, I'm not going to I'm not going to, go nuts. Or because like I said, I've heard people leave comments. What can I do to pray for my husband so my husband won't have temptation? Or what can I do to make sure that you can't make sure he's going to do anything. I mean, you pray for him, ask for protection over him. But he better know too that God is not going to be mocked either. Like, he better fear God. He better gain some knowledge, some wisdom. He better fear God. Like, you shouldn't have to feel like you're in, because remember what I had explained a couple of videos ago, as I remember when my husband was putting me away. First of all, it's just the worst feeling in the world, because this is your husband that you look up to. This is your husband that's like everything, you know what I mean? Like, and for your own husband to just basically not love you anymore, it was a hurtful thing. You just like, no, this cannot be. Like, this cannot be, like, not now. Not, I mean, we said I do. Like, you do know I'm stuck with you forever. Hold on, yeah. Yeah, so you thought like your whole world was gonna come down, and oh, what am I gonna do? Keep breathing, keep living. You can't really do it. The only thing you can do is just, you get to a point where you just like let it with whatever it is well with my soul. It's well with my soul. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little upset because we had a child, and it would have been great for her to be raised in a household with her father and her, in the real world, that's what you want. And a lot of the thing is that my story is very similar with other people's story, whether it was your wife or your husband, is that you did not sign up for divorce. You did not sign up for brokenness, betrayal, hurt. You didn't sign up for those things. You made a pledge. You gave yourself individually to become one, and you both knew that this was going to happen. And I just knew, like, one thing, we could have gotten an argument. We rarely did, but if we did, we never mentioned the D word. Oh, the D word? Nobody's going to mention divorce, you know? And so when that happened, it was just like, dun, 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 dun. You're trying to be on your best. I remember trying to look my best and trying to be so perfect, or and around that time we went through a lot. But you should never have to jump through hoops for the person that's supposed to love you unconditionally. And I remember when I was crying to God, I was like, God, he's going to be with someone else. Oh, I was crying. And the Lord was like, Mona, you do know you became one flesh with him. And I remember I was like, what do you mean? Like, what? And he was like, you sitting up here acting like somebody else can take something from you when you don't get it. You became one flesh. And anyone who touched you or him will be on trouble by me, which is God. And I'm like, what? So then I was like, well, why am I crying over something that, really? See, it's husband and boyfriend, two different things. Wife, husband, two different. No, wife, husband, same thing. But wife, girlfriend, two different things. So it's like, you know what? The only thing you can do is live in peace. Because when you know the repercussions behind it, and then you know how bad those repercussions will be, you will be praying for them to get right. So just like you say, when you left a comment about your wife saying, her being with another man, you should be praying for her. You know why? Because hell is real. Hell is real. And when you think about it, like, you would not want your wife to go there. I mean, when you hear about these near-death experiences and these people who had dreams and went to hell, it's a place that's not. It's a place of torment forever. And while you may say, well, I forgive her for that, I don't want her to go to hell, that's God's say, the judgment that he would give her or him. So, and then when you really realize how messed up it is, you like, man, I don't even want my worst enemy to go there. That's why God tells us to forgive, because his ways aren't like our ways. See, somebody do something wrong to us, we may want to get revenge right then and there, But God's revenge is eternity. You know what I mean? Like, every single day being tortured, you would be like, okay, kids, it's enough. It's been 100 years. Could you imagine if your wife was in hell because she cheated on you, and repent, because shoot, it's not even just a relationship. Some people know it and they know what to do. You right, because if she does get a relationship, she's going to know. But you need to pray. You need to be praying for her. You need to be praying for her, because hell ain't no joke. I be telling the Lord, like, there's a lot of dreams I want to have, but I don't want. I already visualize, and I see, and I know what place lies below, that you go in and you can't come out. That's it. The sorrow, the despair, and trust and believe me, there are people in there for adultery and fornication. There are people in there and they can't get out. Cheated on their wife, beat their wife, did all types of stuff. And that's why when people be saying, well, what am I supposed to do if my husband, or you saying I can't remarry, my husband used to beat on me, and if he don't repent for beating on you and doing things to turn his whatever up, and if he on somebody else beating on them, he gonna go to hell and he gonna get beat on. You're not gonna enter the pearly gates, and the whole time you were sitting up here dogging your wife. I've seen and I've heard testimonies of people who landed in hell because how they treated their wives, beating their wives. You see what I'm saying? So whatever sin they in, pray for them. This sin is big. Like, people be thinking like this type of sin, I'm just gonna let them do them. This type of sin is not going to drag them off to hell. This is a real sin. Like, this is one of the top sins. You understand what I'm saying? Thou should not commit adultery. This is bad. So I would pray for your wife. I wouldn't even look like, yeah, she would have never do. Like, she's the walking dead right now. She's the walking dead. Well, you still living. And sometimes some people don't know until later on. But you have to forgive. You have to forgive. The shame was the worst part. Well, yeah, but at one point in time, you're going to have to get to the point where you're going to have to forgive that too. I could look back at stuff that I was shaking in my boots about, I can laugh at now. And stuff that was really hurtful, I could just say, I forgive it. Because that's what the devil like to do. Bring up stuff. Remember when your wife did this? Remember when your husband did this? And then you like, yeah, I remember that. That's when you have to say, Satan, get behind thee. I forgive. And you got to get that weight off your shoulders and just be like, it is what it is. When you still harvesting or still feeling some type of way, then that means there's some forgiveness or some forgiving that you need to do. And I'm not gonna lie, because like I said the other day, I was talking to a really good friend of mine, and I was just like pissed. Like, I just don't understand how people can just do these things, how people can get married and just act like, so what? And people can just walk away. And I remember one time I was talking to the Lord about that. And God was like, how do you think I feel? I said, that is true. God created man. And man, you got men around here act like I don't believe in a God. I don't believe in God. I believe in doing harm. They just go about their merry ways, doing evil things that you know. And that's why we have to forgive. It's the only way to get peace. It's the only way to enjoy life, because why live the remainder of your 50 years or 80, 90 years or heck 40 years or whatever years? Why live it pondering over somebody who made a decision that this is what they're going to do. I mean, yes, you're human. You're going to think about it. But sometimes you just better be like, man, you know what? I forgive it. It's whatever. 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 They got tricked just like a lot of people today. Who knows? But you have to get to a point where you just like, you know what? I'm going to pick up my cross and I'm going to walk forward. I fought the good fight. And even now, with my obedience to God, I am still letting it be known that, you know, my husband is still living. He's still out there. I mean, I don't broadcast it. I talk to y'all about it, but mainly in my life, I work. I'm a mom, a friend, and that's pretty much it. You know, I deal for my peeps and I have a good time, but that's it. And God has been keeping me busy, and He's been giving me rest too. So I thank God for that. But you're going to have people that's going to walk away or try to do certain things. And this is when you really going to you have to say to yourself, this is a test. Now, my test is I could be bitter. I could be mad and frowning at everything. Mary Jane Jack, nobody's faithful. I could have been, you know, real bitter. But instead, I'm just like, you know, people make the decisions. They do, and it's messed up. But in my household, we're going to serve the Lord. And this is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. And in order for me to get to a place of peace, I have to forgive. I have to forgive. I can't put that over. They will for eternity. They will have you. I think a lot of people was bitter when their marriages went south. I would say I was emotionally upside down. I was just going through whatever. And now I just look at things and I just look at things in a different perspective. But people don't I know my close circle and people around me, nobody really says anything like you never gonna be with anyone. You know why? Because majority of the folks my age, they not with nobody. They not married. They're not they're learning to just, you know, go with the punches and just seek God and do things right, you know? And and I feel and a lot of folks too, they feel discouraged because they still have not found Mr. Right. And then they saw all of the marriages that went left wing and they're out trying to date. And it seems like the men that they come across, and I'm just saying in perspective of some of the single women that I know, it seems like they just, this man has been married twice. That one has been married one. And it's just like, why can't they seem to find that middle ground with a man who's never been married before or don't got a lot of baggage? You know, and it's the same thing with men who are eligible looking for a wife but can't seem to find a wife. It's because of what society is pushing, with places like the church ain't teaching, you know, and people interfering, you know, but you look at it and you just say, you know what, you can go to that place, you can go to God, you know He's there. He's always there. But anyway, Yeah, a lot of people are sleeping around. That was the whole purpose back in the day, and it was supposed to be now, and it needs to be taught now that you're not to have sex until you get married. That's why we have so many young girls before they even turn 23 years old. They got 4 kids and they're not married. And the young man, too, before he even hit 26, he got 8 kids and you're not married. That's why you were supposed to not do anything until the day of your marriage day, or after you said I do. And we have to go back to teaching a lost generation that, because you know TV, video, YouTube, and the rest of social media, it ain't helping, but that they're pushing this junk in front of our children. So we have to teach our children. And then dad and mom gone, dad may be working, mom may be here or whatever. Well, who's raising your children? Yeah, everybody got a story, the things that they go through. But it will hit, just keep praying for your wife. Maybe God will reveal something to her. Or, just keep praying for her. Because, Lord, if she die and she in that sin, that's not going to be good. Anyway, y'all, I've been on here long enough. Halfway looking, but don't like what you see out there. I remember somebody had a dream about a man who was trying to find a wife, and he couldn't find a wife, and he was calling out to God, and he was crying, and he was like, all he wants was a wife, because he couldn't find any woman out there to be, a wife. And I was like, dang, that's a heck of a dream. It's going to get that bad where, it's hard to find a wife. I'm going to tell you something. I saw a documentary with this man in China. He went looking for a wife he went looking for a wife. He jumped on a train, went to another train. I mean, y'all, I spoke about this in one of my videos. This was the most sweetest documentary. So he went looking for a wife because evidently where he was at, the women were very scarce. Either they were married, because let me tell you, China was very stupid with their one-child policy, and everybody wanted sons to take care of their household. So they were killing off the girls, leaving the babies on the side and all this other stuff. Little did they know that those girls would grow up. And so they had this huge shortage of women. And so anyway, the guy, he literally went to a village, like, his family put up some money for him to go to a village and get him a wife. And I thought this was the most sweetest thing. He went to the village. The women did not speak their language, but he went to pick his wife up. And when I tell you, while they were on the train, he had the biggest smile on his face. He said, you see, most men around my way, they're still looking for a wife. But I found me a wife. And I tell you, his smile, the way he was cheesing, was like, he was cheesing so hard. And when he walked in the house, his mother came downstairs, right? This is old lady, and she got a smile on her face. And she went walking down the steps, and she went over to her daughter-in-law, and she grabbed her hand like, my daughter. She was looking at her like, you. She was just so happy. And I just thought that this is just so sweet. You know, she was looking at she was looking at her new daughter-in-law like, this is my new daughter, and oh, there's gonna be some kids around here, like she, and I'm like, that's amazing, because the mother-in-laws on this end, they look you up and down, and they just be like, who she thinks she is. I can't say it's not like that around the world, but I just thought that was so sweet, the way she embraced her, like, like she just kept holding her hand, just holding her new daughter-in-law hand, like, oh, my son finally got a wife, and just like she just kept holding her hand, and I just thought that was so precious. That was so precious. So anywho, I don't know how I got off topic, but because the man who findeth a wife findeth a good thing, and he obtains favor from the Lord. I be wondering, I see guys out here that may not even believe in Jesus, but for some odd reason, because they have a family, they still have a blessing with them. And it's because a man who findeth a wife, a man who findeth a wife findeth a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. That family is a model of why God created male and female. I've seen it. I've seen it with my own eyes. Men get promotions and they ain't did jack. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, it's because he has a wife and children. It's because he has a wife and children that he has favor on his life. And I've seen it with my own eyes. I knew somebody that decided they were going to, his wife, and family will always take a trip out of town. They would go to some exotic place or whatever where the water just beautiful. And he showed me pictures, and I said, oh, you guys look good. Y'all was deep. Look at your family. Y'all look good. Next thing you know, he was like, yeah, I'm a year later, I'm going to go somewhere for my birthday. I'm like, okay, your wife going with you? No. I'm like, your wife not going with you? Oh, so you going by yourself? Yeah. Came out, him and his wife was talking about a divorce, and I'm like, please. I end up, some tears rolled down my eyes. I said, do not give up your wife. I'm trying to tell you, you got children. Don't do it. Just do not do it. It's not like that out here. I said, do not do that. Oh, okay. I'm like, you and your wife can get through it. Of course, he went out of town. And I said, so how'd it go? So he said he went by himself, whoop, whoop, whoop. And I said, so how was the food? Was the food good? And he said, yeah. My friend, she tried such. I said, your friend? I said, what, you got a girlfriend? Oh, yeah, I got a girlfriend. I lied to you not. I said, oh, okay. I didn't say anything. I'm thinking to myself, so you left your wife before the ink could even dry on your bill of divorce, and you flew somewhere with your girlfriend. Do you know, literally 2 weeks later, he lost his job. Lost his job. A man who findeth a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor. He lost his job. And I knew it was because of his disobedience. I knew it was because he basically was not in the will of God. I mean, immediately I saw it and I was like, whoa. See, there's certain perks with marriage. Blessings, you know what I mean? Secret blessings. Ain't really secret. He obtains favor from God. You get favor. You get favor. I know some people be looking at me like, Mona, how? I mean, I'll go to my Father and be like, Lord. Or sometimes I could even think about something and be like, it would be really nice to have that, And I'll go on to my merry way. And the next thing you know, yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, so nobody, you don't really think about that, do you? That favor. But anyway, I'm about to get off of here. I think I talked enough. I've talked a long time. But yeah, I witnessed that. I looked and I was like, That's why the Bible said, never seen the righteous forsaken or the seed begging bread. But I believe that when a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing. And I hate when folks misquote scriptures with folks that's committing adultery. They say, I've heard somebody say to somebody who's openly committing adultery, well, a man who finds a wife finds a good thing. No. That's a man who finds his wife. A man who finds a wife, that's his wife. But a man who, the Bible has a saying for those who commit adultery, a man who committeth adultery lacketh understanding, and he who does it destroyeth his own soul. There's turbulence with that. So let's not get the scriptures twisted. I mean, especially some of you fellas on here, you probably remember a time when you and your wife and your family was together. Everything was going, like money was coming, health was right, the days was great. And I'm not saying that things ain't going great, but there's a certain type of favor that's on your life. And you can't explain it, but the Bible clearly explains it. Because when you say, well, what type of favor obtains favor from God? You obtain favor from God. Some people would say, those cats, y'all can hear my cats in the background, my boss cats. But anyway, but yeah, man who findeth a wife findeth a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. And that's why God wants us to be fruitful and multiply. And the new marriages and the new ones to be fruitful, multiply. The devil don't want that now, does he? The devil say, well, it's too many of us. We ought to be afraid to live. Be fruitful and multiply. And I'm going to tell you something too. Remember being Christ-like as a husband, because he said to love your wife like Christ loved the church. And you know how many times we have messed up out here and we go back asking God for forgiveness in Jesus' name. And the Lord takes us back. So mastering forgiveness towards your wife and your husband, submitting to your husband. A lot of people, they don't want to do all that. They don't even want to deal with that. But anywho, this was a very long video. Anyway, y'all have a blessed